Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back, of course, to the Time Bomb channel. Hope all is good in your part of the world, and essentially today just a quick update on the final part, essentially, of our restoration project of the 702 or 7002. Kind of a short vid today, providing a little bit of an update on what's more or less completed. And ta-da! Here is our now fully functioning 7002, 7001. Big up, of course, to our hobbyist horologist for all of his time and hard work on this project. Massive thanks, sir. And as with most of these projects, it's kind of a compromise, isn't it? It's not been an entirely perfect process. There are still some of the parts were and still are so beaten up that it's almost a little bit in limbo. But I will go into that in a second. There's one of the first ones, as you can see, the bezel. However, just before I wanted to get into that, I also wanted to say another thanks and shout out to Tony out in the Philippines, who runs SEIKO Parts or SEIKO Parts 14 on eBay. It seems that new YouTube rules don't allow for eBay links in descriptions, etc. So here's a screenshot of his store. This is where I sourced most of the parts needed from Tony. And it also seems to be, I don't know why, but so many old Seikos end up in the Philippines. Does anyone know why? Anyway, check him out for all those tiny cogs that you might need for your next mod restoration project. So here's what's happened to the watch. So we did the deep clean on the watch, and that video I'll pop a link to just up here. And in that process, several parts were identified as being broken, worn out, etc. So let's have a look at what's changed first. So the first thing that we've changed up top was the crystal. It was badly dinged up. So we now have a full flat sapphire in there, which is looking very, very, very classy indeed. So clear. It's nice to see such a beautiful clear clarity up top there. It does enable us, of course, to see much more of the gunk down below on that dial, but again, that's another point. And just and this was also the other thing. So the brand name on the crystal, I couldn't get away with not sharing with you. Brilliant brand name. The bezel, yeah. So as you can see, I've just shifted it around there. This was a tough one because during the dismantling process, we saw that the spring inside had completely gone, and also the balls inside were also absent. So that's all been replaced, but it seems that, I don't think we can see it from here, so I'll pop up a close-up. Yeah, I'll throw up a close-up, easier to spot. It seems that the previous owners had levered off the bezel probably with a spoon or maybe a tire iron, and the bezel itself is now so warped, as you can see here. Further, the actual ring on the case body where the bezel sits is also warped. It's all bent. So even a new bezel on this wouldn't actually sit true because, yeah, as I say, because the underlying case is out of kilter. So the bezel anyway now it spins. Yeah, it's still there, but it still just catches on one tiny section down the bottom here. And as I say, that's where God knows what they've done. They've shoved something in here, to lift it off. But yeah, it's a watch from 1991, so we don't expect it to be perfect. Just curious as to why they felt they needed to do that. It's a bit of a half fix, but as I say, part of the compromise of this type of project. I didn't replace the bezel insert again because I just felt that by not changing the dial as I've done here, that the fact that it's a little bit older, that's part of the charm of the watch. I didn't want to go in the direction of making it, all new, singing and dancing. In addition, inside the mainspring was kind of a tad squiffy, but as I say, our hobbyist horologist did a fantastic job on rewinding it, and it now works perfectly, as you can see there, second hand tricking around there perfectly. Downside though is that the date wheel was another sticking point. It needs a replacement intermediate date wheel, but we couldn't find one. So the plan was to get a knackered old watch or watch movement and to try and farm it for parts. But just in the short time that I've been trying to work on this, the ones that I found were too expensive for such a tiny part. I think it was about £30, for an old movement, and I just thought, just for that one aspect, that maybe the next person can do that. Maybe they have one at home. Onto the dial, and as you can see here, we've got some very sexy new hands, sort of Marine Master-esque. I couldn't resist that splash of colour on the seconds hand. I just think it helps to bring out the colour or the dial a little bit more. Reason for changing them was the hands had gone furry, again, which is very old. Kind of looked like this up close. So yeah, so they needed replacing. I referenced the dial, which again could have been changed, but I actually felt that the fade out on those hour markers, to me, actually looks good. I think they had a certain character to it, and because I knew that I wasn't going to change the bezel insert, I just thought, yeah, it's kind of a 1-2 steps into the newer hands. Again, admittedly, I agree, it's a slight mismatch, but again, to me, more important that the hands working clean, visible, because you need to tell what time it is. Everything else, it still works. Other things that we changed, so the dial holding ring had gone or corroded. The movement ring holding that in place also been replaced. We've got new gaskets front and back as well inside, but again, not really for waterproofing, but just because I had some new ones that we could throw in. I don't really anticipate taking this one anywhere near the drink. There are arguments, I think, that we could do more to this, but I think I'm going to stop there. It's been given a new lease of life and very good measures of TLC, and I think it should keep ticking now for a few years more. And as I said, I'm going to pop this one onto eBay, generate some funds to get some more watches on the channel. So yeah, perhaps the next owner can then take it a step further, maybe replace the bezel. Maybe they'll be able to have the technique to straighten out that ring, or I don't know. We'll see. I might ask them if they can keep me updated, just so that I can share with you guys if there's been any further changes to the watch. Yeah, so that's the wrap for today. Let us know of your successful or not so successful restoration projects, and thanks as always, of course, for your time and for your view. Until the next watch vid, this is your host, the Bombardier, signing off. Cheers, guys.